again for joining. Welcome to our webcast today. We're FayeBSG Systems Group and Acton Software. Today we're doing another one in our series of marketing automation boot camps. We do these every month or two, or once or twice a month. Today we're talking about how to create revenue using social media marketing. So just for the purposes of having an agenda, I want you to know we do have one, thankfully, and oftentimes I attend plenty of webinars and I'm not really quite sure what's going on. So it's pretty basic. We're going to do a quick intro of our speakers. We're going to do a real quick intro about FayeBSG Systems Group, and then we're going to listen to Brandon and Jack speak a little bit about today's topic. And then we can do a Q&A, but really I hope that this is an interactive session, and please feel free to ask questions at any time throughout the presentation in the chat box, and as the moderator I'm going to be looking at those and I'll get to them as they come in. So just a little bit about us, about who's speaking today. Oftentimes, you know, as a marketing guy, I attend webinars and I don't know who the hell I'm listening to. So I'm Jesse. I'm the marketing director at FayeBSG Systems Group. And just so you remember me, my webinar persona today is going to be along the lines of Jon Snow. And if you don't know who Jon Snow was, he was the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch in Game of Thrones. But before that, he was the Deputy Commander, and I'm kind of going to be the Deputy Commander today. I'm going to be managing the back end of the webinar, scheduling, and questions as they come in. And then my trusty companion is Brandon Contreras. He's the manager of global channel development at Acton Software, and I liken his webinar persona to Master Pai Mei from Kill Bill, and he is my samurai guru, marketing automation partner in crime, and is always with me on our webinars. So, Brandon,
both of those images, actually, Jesse, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, both of those images are inaccurate. That's my hairline circa, I don't know, a handful of years ago. I look at that with the utmost amount of fondness, thinking that's a very, very good straight full hairline now, you know, receding or otherwise.
Yeah, mine actually originally looked the way it does in my image, but now I look more like Jon Snow, which is really crazy, so I feel pretty lucky for that to be happening. And then we've got Jack Kozakowski. He's a senior regional sales manager at Acton Software, and his webinar persona today is more along the lines of a Master Yoda. And so Jack's really known as the Casanova of marketing automation and his social networks. He's a passionate practitioner and proselytizer in the social media space, which is apparent in all of his all the content he publishes, and you can see it everywhere from LinkedIn, business to community, sales hacker, and of course in the Acton Software blog. So Jack, thank you for joining us.
Man, my head just grew about 55 sizes bigger than it is right now. Thank you.
Or shall I say Master Yoda? Okay, so just real quick, I promise, FayeBSG Systems Group, we're an Acton consulting partner. We're a Sugar CRM elite partner. We've got more than 25 years in the technology and software space, and we focus on marketing automation and CRM and ERP and custom software solutions. We've done hundreds of successful accounting, ERP, and CRM software implementations, and we also offer a full suite of digital marketing services, which I'll show you in a minute. We're known in the most well-known in the Sugar CRM community for building our integrations between Sugar and a handful of other products, but since we became partners with Acton, we've really focused heavily into the marketing automation space because of the fact that the integration out of the box that comes with Acton and Sugar CRM is one of the best we've ever seen. So, we're power users, and we are happy to shout from the rooftops about the success that Axon's implementation in our company and our sugar has done for us. And then, as I mentioned, we offer some digital marketing services, anything from content strategy and content marketing, SEO, and website development, and social media as well. So you can check out some of our packages we've got available on our digital marketing services page that you can see in that link right there. So with that, I'm just going to set up our topic today, and you've seen. Obviously social media, it's a massive opportunity to, spread your message to tons of people, and everybody knows that. And you can do it in a short amount of time, and you can do it all day long. But oftentimes, businesses, they're paying for exposure through sponsored posts and things, and they're not always getting the results they hope for. And as a marketer, it's all about ROI. And you constantly see these stats about the success that people are having with running social media programs and creating revenue and reporting ROI on them. But the issue is, not everyone is having this success. And, we're certainly in that same category, and we want to learn about some of the best practices when it comes to setting yourself up for success when it comes to running your social media platforms and strategies and campaigns and getting the most value from them. So the idea here is just to have an open dialogue about how do we do that? What are some of the best practices? And that's really it. And so before as I pass the presenter rights over, we'll start with Brandon. I just want to keep, to remind you that this is really, this is not just a one-way conversation. We really want you to get involved in this. So please, like I said, feel free to ask any question. It can literally be anything around this topic, and we'd love to get to those. All right, Brandon, I'm going to pass you the ball, buddy. Master Paymay.
Perfect. So a couple of things, just by way of reference. We're going to pass this link around. This is going to be kind of the center point, the focal point. As promised, the topic is, generating revenue, generating, dollars and cents using social. It was I'm going to use the phraseology, a bit of a tooth pull to get Jack Kozakowski with his busy schedule on this call, so we're extraordinarily happy to have his presence. This guy has single-handedly just rocked social. And as a bag-carrying, using that phraseology as well, as a bag-carrying sales rep for us, has killed it revenue-wise, and the pillar of this is social selling and using social to overachieve quota, as well as providing diamonds to clients with which he works, the tools to do it as well. So tools, recommendations, strategies. So we're going to be passing this link so you all have access to this ebook. It's going to be the center point of our conversation. And I guess kind of the best place for us to begin is to kind of lay the further framework of this conversation, in that let's talk brands, right? What brands could be, should be doing by way of social. Let's talk about individuals, whether they be marketeers, sales pros, what have you, what they could be and should be doing by way of social. When I present with Jack, we promise each other, and in turn promise you, the audience, this ain't about any fluff. We're not going to doll this up for you. We're not going to, spruce it up, smiles, dandelions, and rose petals. What we promise you is a very, very frank conversation. Jack can further comment on this. The need for a frank conversation is there are far too many brands, there are far too many marketeers, sales pros, etc., paying way too much lip service to social. Oh yeah, I'm on this social channel, that social channel, and being ineffective in going through this, right? In using it, in doing it. And so hey, our effort, thimble full of effort, is to, I guess, bring about some change, right? As evangelists, as disciples of social, kind of bring about some change. Jack, any commentary on either focal point being 5 steps to social selling, any commentary about brands, individuals, etc., while we both jump up on our soapbox?
Yeah, so, the first thing I'd say is, I love the part about, no fluff. So I always say one thing about social is, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense, right? So, we've got to definitely, have a conversation, and sometimes it's going to be a very hard conversation with a lot of organizations because everybody wants to do social. They know they have to do social, but very few want to actually put the time, commitment, resources into it to actually get a long-term ROI. So really that's the way that I would look at this. Now the other thing is that, social media marketing and social selling to me, they go hand in hand. Because, the days of marketing just being able to, post a tweet and somebody goes and fills out a form and you get a demo right away and then all of a sudden, they're going to close. I mean, those days are kind of over. So there's kind of a new, what I see in the new way of social selling is, social media marketing and social selling kind of they kind of collaborate, right? And sales has to be involved in this, and sales has to be heavily involved with marketing in this process because you're going to be doing a lot of engaging, right? Posting, engaging, and kind of moving people through the buyer's journey. And I think that the buyer's journey is very important at social, and you've got to have a pulse on that. But nobody turns to revenue unless they've got an effective, customer experience through that journey, especially from social. So that's kind of where I would start with this.
Perfect. So going down this pathway in the time that we all have together, let's start with the brand. Let's start with the organization, right? In your tidbits of recommendation to clients with whom you work, what are some of the overarching things that you start with in attempting to bring an org on board with social?
So, the first thing is you got to have your executives on board. I always say everything, like, you have to have your executives bought in, and a lot of times you want to have them involved, right? Because one of the major, focal points of social media is that people want to engage with people, right? I think that if you look at Microsoft, I think they have like 1 million followers, and Bill Gates has 7 million followers, right? If you look at Richard Branson, he has, millions of followers, and then Virgin has 600,000. So what you're seeing is that you're actually seeing brands using, the CEO or the thought leader for their brand to really be the voice and kind of the, focal point of their social media marketing. So there's got to be a heavy strategy, and I would say that, getting buy-in at the top is the first thing you should do. The second thing you need to do is once you have that buy-in, is you need to figure out what you're trying to achieve with social. Because there's a lot of ways that you can use social media. There's a lot of different channels. But if you're really truly understanding, is it just a lead gen thing, right? Is it a conversation thing? Is it a brand awareness thing? Is it a content, more traffic type of, you want to get more traffic to the website, you're not getting enough? Is it visibility? What are you trying to achieve with social? Or, what multiple things are you trying to achieve with social? So you've really got to understand what you're trying to do, and then you can kind of put the strategy together, and then you put the time, commitment, and the resources into it. And if you haven't done all that, then there's no reason to even get started, because I'm going to tell you right now, going halfway in on social is a waste of your time and money. I would say that you either do it with buy-in or don't do it at all, is my suggestion.
Great tidbit. Let's continue, because this, and I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'm really, really good at doing that, right? Marketing department's all in. Marketing department understands the power of social. Marketing department, knows the channels with which we, where we need to be present. Marketing department has, the wherewithal to do this. what recommendation do you have for this particular marketing department to approach those higher ups, right? The buy-in at the top. How do we get that if it doesn't exist?
I think that, like anything else with leadership, if you've got to come to them with a plan, right? And, map out things that the competitors are doing. I think, executives, they might not take social media too serious right now because there's a lot of fluff, that's gone on. A lot of fluff about leadership, trust, hugs, all that stuff. Executives don't care about that, right? Executives want to know, hey, I'm going to take away time and resources, especially from your marketing department. What marketing department, right, is not already overworked? So if you're coming to the CEO to tell him, hey, we need to do social media, we need to do another component of marketing, he's going to go, well, I don't even have, project A back to me yet, right? So you've really got to come to them with a strong use case to say, okay, like, look, we've got to, Acton, for example, and I'm not trying to do, a product plug here, but one of the most powerful things that we have, and I think in our platform, is the competitors tool. So what you can essentially do is you can go in and find your top 9 competitors, and see who's active on social, right? What kind of content are they putting out? What kind of amplification are they getting? And what audience are they building? Because this is a tough situation for Acton. We are up against HubSpot, right? HubSpot has a huge audience. They have 600,000 followers on Twitter. They get a ton more eyeballs on everything. So how do we make a commitment to compete with that, or at least try to scale so that we're visible as well, right? And a lot of companies go through that. But if you show your executive, how powerful it is and how well your competition's doing, that'll really make your use case a lot better. On top of that is case studies. Go out and find case studies in your industry of companies that are getting big wins, and approach that with a strategy on how you guys could put some time and resources into this and get a 5x return from what you've seen from a case study perspective or from your competitors.
Love it. Okay, so softening the devil's advocate approach, right? We've got the buy-in. We've taken our case studies. We've done kind of a comparison of what our competitors are up to, right? Kind of a keeping up with the Joneses. Look, our competition's extraordinarily active on Facebook and Twitter, and if we want to keep up with the Joneses, we better have that type of presence there as well. We've made the case for social. We've got some buy-in from the higher-ups. The corner office says, all right, game on. We've got resources, time, human resources to apply to this. Perfect. Now, let's pretend that the marketing department doesn't necessarily have the wherewithal, and or where do they begin? What do we do now? What
so you want to start simple.
Yeah, would you give them?
Yeah. I would say start simple, right? I mean, there's some influencer tools out there where you can go identify where your target market is, right? Where your target audience is. Are they living on Twitter? Maybe not. There's some very laggard industries that Twitter might not be, the right place. But I would tell you that, CNBC had a really good special the other day where they brought on a guy that owns one of the largest agencies in the U.S., and he said, you know what, the excuse that your buyers are not on Twitter anymore is a joke. He said, there's about an 80% adoption rate now for Twitter from an executive, level standpoint. So, you might be surprised, right? If you don't believe in Twitter, I could tell you that you might want to rethink that because, I've been on Twitter for a year and a half, and I can tell you that I get 5x link clicks on anything I post versus LinkedIn and Facebook. So there's a lot of value in driving traffic and starting conversations out there. Now, but here's the deal: if you run the data tells you that you're probably wasting your time, then start at another channel, right? LinkedIn. If you're in B2B, obviously your buyers are on LinkedIn, right? We all know that now. So you've got to figure out, okay, I found the channel. Now you've got to put a content strategy together. And I think this is where, people are either going to make it or not. And you've got to figure out what your audience wants, who your audience is, and you've got to start being consistent with value-add content all the time. There's no other way around it. You have to add value to your audience all the time, and you've got to become an advocate for others that you want in your audience. And you've got to earn the right through engagement, through sharing, through, well, I put it this way, if you find influencers in your space, reach out to them, build a relationship with them, become an advocate for them, because they're the ones with the audience, and they've probably got your buyer's audience in front of them. If you can build that relationship with them and help them and bring them into your funnel, start getting them to write some content, start getting them to share your content. Everything is audience and sales. I think Grant Cardone says it best. The ones who have attention have the deal. So how do we go out and earn the right to get people's attention? And that's through value. And when you add enough value through content and you've got the right content strategy, and that'll be tweaked over time, with consistency, you'll start to build an audience of buyers and advocates who will take your message and share it to other buyers. And that's really how you have to think about social media.
So continuing down this pathway, right? The marketing department that says, you know what, okay, gotcha, we know content's important, and I mean very few it would be the marketing department that's the naysayer. Jack, we agree. Content's important. We need to be subject matter specialists. We need to provide value-added content. And you touched on it a little bit, but I want you to further expand on it. How would they go about doing this, right? And it's rhetorical because I have some commentary on this as well, because I've come across client after client. Oh, we need content. It's certainly just a content issue. Where do we come up with this subject matter expertise? Where and how can we add value? Your recommendations are what?
So, well, first off, you really got to figure out what what is your thought leadership, right, as an organization. And let's just, I'll just use Acton as an example, right? We put out really, really amazing content on marketing automation or anything around marketing, right? So, we want to add value. We want to educate. So the content that we put out is all around making marketers better at their job, making them look like, the kings to their boss, right? We want to add value through education. Now, there's other ways to do it. You could add, mix it up a little bit, use humor, whatever that may be, but you've got to really keep your thought leadership and focused on social media. You can't be all over the place. You can't share, one thing about auto dealerships and then marketing the next day. You've got to be fully aligned and know what you stand for, because if you're going to become a trusted resource for something, that means you're adding value on a certain subject over and over and over, and you're consciously getting these people to become a committed audience member, just like an engaged person on an email list. You want to do the same. Look at social as your email list, right? You got to stay consistent, you got to stay valuable, and you've got to keep them engaged.
Those are great tidbits, and they further turbocharge, kind of the couple of grains that I wanted to add here, right? I come across client after client. Look, we don't have the information, we don't have the content, we don't have the value add. Whoa, 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 whoa! Are y'all an expert in your space? Do you know about products and services that you're representing and/or selling? And it's not necessarily that they are not that. It seems, personal opinion based on the number of conversations I've had, further affirming or confirming this, it's kind of the lack of confidence to put themselves out there on such a, I don't know, I'll use the phrase, kind of a global type, worldwide style stage. Right? I like your piece. Hey, take a stand, right? Be confident. You know and are the subject matter specialist regarding products and services that you offer, I would think. So,
well, let me jump in there. So I always like to tell a story because it makes more sense. So if you think about it from an audience perspective, when you wake up, whoever it may be, when they wake up, let's talk about an executive. When he wakes up or she wakes up, they go to their office, and I would bet you that they do a little email check, but there's a little window in their day, or a few times in their day, where they go to certain resources to read about their industry, right? What's going on? What's new? News. What new technology came out? Who's the new competitor? So when you think about what are the 5 to 10 resources that you go to daily to get your information, you want, and trust me, this is not easy, but this should be your end objective with a really, really heavy commitment to social. You want to be one of those resources for your buyer, right? You want them to go into the office in the morning and check your Facebook page, right? You want them to check your Twitter account when they're going through. You want them to look at you as the hottest, most value add channel that really helps them get the information they need to be better at their job, in life, all areas. Because if you can do that, what you start to do is you start to build those advocates that will share your message over and over because it's so valuable. And pretty soon, you won't have to beg people to buy anymore. They'll be coming to you because you've earned it through their trust and adding that value.
Love it. A trusted consultant, right? More of an educational style approach. People become evangelists of what you're putting out there. Revenue follows.
Correct.
In a nutshell.
Yes, and the other thing is, like, you don't, here's the thing, like, it doesn't always have to be your content, right? You as an organization can use tools like BuzzSumo, right, to share some of the hottest articles as they come off the press, right? There's automation you can set up for that. I wouldn't suggest the automation piece, but if you want to stream the timeline. But you need to, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that content is only hot and gets high engagement for a short period of time. So it doesn't mean you have to produce all the content. What it means is that you need to be sharing only good quality content that's not already been used and everybody's read, right? So you've got to really think about content as the main driver of the value to your audience.
Love it. Got it. Okay. So in kind of summary of this brand / organization part, right? We go and we get the executive buy-in, pending executive buy-in, perfect. We've got the marketing department that's got the wherewithal, know-how, ready to attack social channels. Content is key here. This is huge. We've got a variety of places from which we can grab content. We've got a variety of tools with which to use in kind of that yelling and screaming from a mountaintop, putting our content out there. Doesn't necessarily have to be our content, could be other people's content as well, right? I'm not quick to share competitive content, although I'm quick to be reading lots of competitors' blog posts, ebooks, and the like. Okay, I continue. So now that we have all of these things in place, boom, Jack, the leads, from as far as the marketing department is concerned, the leads just freaking explode in, right? Yes or no?
No, absolutely not. So this is the toughest part about social media, right? I mean, you can imagine what I just told you. You've got to do all of that stuff first, right? And then what I would say 80% of your strategy should be, content. Your content creation, which is educational only, not sales. You do not want to be the company that sells. Watch most brands, that's what they do, and that's why they get no engagement, right? You got to be all about your buyer. What's the best for my buyer? What's going to educate them? Because the more you educate, you'll get more results from get people to buy in as you as the trusted thought leader and the source for making their business grow from a content perspective than you ever will pushing out an ebook for them, right? Now, that's not to say that you don't have ebooks and 20% of your social media marketing is not creating a form, right? Creating content, gating it behind a form, and generating those leads. But that will take time. I would not start off doing that because that's what most brands do. Well, I'm going to do social media marketing. We're going to do it, and we're just going to spam our ebook link over and over and over, right? You will not get anywhere. So focus on building the audience first, adding the value, and then you start to bring in the more high-level digital marketing piece.
Got it. And my point there in all of that was, you know what, this is not a quick fix end-all to be-all. Start now, and immediate results are forthcoming. I don't know, Monday, question mark.
No, absolutely not. Now, and you know, what we're talking about is, you know, essentially almost like building a community, right? Making that commitment. Now, what I would say is if, you know, and I guess maybe we'll get into this a little bit, Brandon, but maybe I'll just dive into it now. If you want to talk about quick wins, right? Because what we're talking about right now is long term.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, I think that one of the things I want to hit on, because you know, marketers, you're probably sitting here going, well, wow, this is a lot of work, and you know, it is. But where you can get the quick wins is ads, right? Right now, social media, Facebook and Twitter have both come out with their ad platforms that are absolutely 100% incredible. And when I say that from a targeting perspective, because what at Acton with our email platform, you know, we have other capabilities, social, webinar marketing, and so forth. But with email, what's happening is it's getting a lot harder to get engagement as more people are, you know, picking up email and using it as one of their major tools in their marketing. So what you find is that you'll have some engaged people on your email list, but you'll have a lot of people that are not engaged. And you know, how do you take that information and go and get in front of those buyers on other channels? A lot of people don't realize that you can go upload your email list into Facebook's ad platform. You can go upload your email list into Twitter's ad platform. And what you can essentially do is you can target, every time you come out with a piece of content, different segments of that email list, depending on what the content is and what's important to them, what their behaviors are. You can actually target those people on your email list that maybe aren't engaged. Well, maybe they're on Twitter. Now, you know, you couldn't get them on email, so now what we're going to do is we're going to hit them on 3 channels. We're going to hit them on Facebook, Twitter, and email. And what you'll find is, well, they're not engaged on email now, but we went and did a Twitter ad, and it popped up in their feed, and now all of a sudden, you're going to notice that they're active again in your email list. So what you've done is you've gone and got in front of them with the right pieces of content from a targeting perspective, and what that's done is effectively got them more now back engaged with your email list. So those are the quick ways that you can use, you know, social from a data perspective and content perspective to get to your buyers or your engaged email list right away. If you don't have an email list, then go use targeting and you know, use it. I mean, the targeting is unbelievable. It's from behaviors, you know, what's important to these people. They can pull all these data points. But if you've got really good content, you know, take that and put that in the ad platform, and then be really selective on your targeting, and it'll tell you how many people are in that bucket, how many people that fit your buyer persona, and it will put your content right in front of them, so that you're not going to have to wait on that organic aspect. But I will say it's a lot, you know, you can get some results from it. I wouldn't say that, you know, I wouldn't, you know, think that it's going to be the end-all, be-all, but it's definitely something to try and put into your repertoire, because we all know you got to be doing everything these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to that point, you brought up kind of what we touched on at the outset, this concept of quick wins, right? And you've clearly provided something around, hey, here's ways to get quick wins from the marketing side, right? And I think that is a good kind of natural segue. We've talked about the overarching brand, the marketing department going, you know, getting the corner office buy-in, so on and so forth. All right, great. Let's shift gears quickly and let's get into like the individuals, right? You know, the guys like you that are, you know, phraseology pounding the pavement, you know, doing this prospecting, you know, smiling and dialing down lists and sending, you know, one-off emails to prospective buyers, so on and so forth. What should these individuals now be doing on social? And, you know, asterisk here, dude, I know that this is the sweet spot of the topic for you. So let's start overarching, right? Bag-carrying sales pro, what should they be up to?
So, you know, I always have to caution people with this, because what's going to happen is you're going to go, you know, see, you know, the amount of people that follow me on Twitter and, you know, the engagement that I get. But what a lot of people don't realize is I've kind of crossed over into the thought leadership realm versus the social selling realm. And there's a huge difference, right? what marketers should be doing, in my opinion, is they should be building their personal brand, right? In sales, if you've got the permission and your company's okay with it, and you can handle juggling the time that it takes to build that and hit your quota, then it's a good idea. But overall, the only thing you should be trying to achieve from a sales and marketing standpoint on social media is more conversations, right? More conversations are the driver of social media. That is what social media is designed to do. Like, let's say we take out the social out of media, right? Then we just have media. And what is media? That's just stagnant data. Stagnant content. Now, the reason that social media got the social piece of there is because it's a place where we leverage media to become social and get into conversations with other people. And I think that's the big disconnect, where people think that they're just going to post on social media and they're going to get, all this engagement, all this activity. But you've got to be really proactive as an organization. Identify accounts that you're looking to, target. What market share, who's social in our account, and start putting together a sales and marketing strategy on social media to go after, those accounts. Add so much value on the front end, right, where you become visible and valuable. And by the time you get those people on the phone and you go in, to kind of give your pitch, right, that you now have almost, and I know that this might sound a little fluffy, but it's actually not. If you do enough things for individuals, buyers, and you do that in an account where you're targeting, it will get to the point where if you get on the phone with them, they'll say, wow, I know exactly who you are, right? They might not be that nice about it, but they'll, if you've done your job correctly, they'll say, hey, you know what? You've kind of earned the right to get 15 minutes of my time. And that's really, I think, from an individual standpoint, we should all strive to do that, is to be very targeted in who we're going to go after and be social with, become advocates for, and really work the relationship aspect to get into the conversation so that we can start getting them into the sales process. But, it's okay. I think people are a little scared in sales that, it's okay not to just call somebody and beg them for something. It's okay to take a little time and earn that. And not too much time, but, put a strategy together to do that.
Love it. Again, further diamonds and tidbits here, right? As you're talking to sales pros, and I have some grains to add to this as well. As you're talking to sales pros about the importance of social selling, about the importance of being on social media, what are you sensing is the fear and trepidation? Where is the apprehension of these individuals? Again, let's just take Twitter for instance. What are you hearing and seeing?
Well, I think first off, people aren't educated, right? Companies and marketing departments aren't educating. A lot of marketers aren't even educated about it, right? So when you go onto Twitter and you start on Twitter, it's a pretty scary place, and it takes a long time to actually figure out that you're getting anywhere with it. So you've got to educate yourself, right? And I think internally you should have your Twitter expert, right? Every company should, and you should be educating on the value, showing short wins, right? Like I've kind of taken the bull by the horn on my own at Axon, right? I didn't really have a lot of support, but I knew that there was value there. So sometimes it takes an internal champion to do that, but I think a lot of people also are scared to say the wrong thing, right? Because we've got kind of the corporate blanket, and you just got to watch everything you say anymore, and it takes out kind of like that human element because people are scared. And Twitter, the real value in Twitter is that you voicing your opinion, right? Being professional. If you wouldn't say it to your grandma, don't say it. Pretty easy. Don't engage. Don't engage with competitors. Nothing negative. Keep it all positive. And you know what? Keep it all about your buyers. I think too many people, they want to spam their messages. Look at our company. We got 500 again. Look at our company, or look at me. Look at me. You think about it from a buyer's perspective. If it's not going to make them better, then don't do it, because this isn't about us. Social media is about everybody else, and if you have that kind of genuine motive, this is a pretty easy thing to do.
Yeah, I like that word, genuine. sincere, right? I think all of us could smile and nod at, okay, look, I'm a sales pro. I eventually need to make a sale. Okay, fine. Yeah, we'll get there. But at the beginning, there is genuineness and sincerity that goes into, look, I want to know what you're up to, Mr. Prospect. What is it that you all do? What are those things that are keeping you tossing and turning at night? What value can I bring? And there is some back and forth that probably, let's say that with the utmost amount of facetiousness and sarcasm, probably that goes into, eventually earning the right to be like, hey, look, I am that type of consultant, and there is trust and rapport that has been built on the front side for me to come in and attack this topic with you. Your commentary on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll explain it like this. Like, I think people make it too complicated, right? They're either on one side of the spectrum where all they want to do is just sell. There's a lot of people that do that on social, right? And you actually get a bad taste because companies are literally, I think there's a lot of companies that are losing the chance to ever do business with certain companies because of the way that they sell on social, right? So there is a really negative piece to social if you do it wrong. But I think that, keep this simple. I always like to explain social like this. It's like one big conference. And when you go to a conference, you walk in, and a lot of times you're not going to know anybody, right? It's people from different organizations, all there for the same thing, to get better at something. And social is kind of the same place, right? It's kind of an oasis of, especially Twitter, of educational, stuff of what's going on in the industry and so forth. If you're at a conference, how would you get into a conversation, right? Would you walk up and say, hey, you know what, I'm Jack, and I sell Acton, and we're the best marketing automation platform in the world, right? No, you wouldn't do that, right? Nobody would ever talk to you. But what you're going to do is you're going to go in, you're going to walk up, and a group of people are talking, you're going to listen to the conversation, and you're going to see where you can add your value into that conversation and organically get into that conversation. And you know what? There always comes a time period where somebody's going to ask you, right, when you're at a conference, what do you do, right? Because that's a natural reaction when we've made a conversation about somebody else. Social's the same exact way, right? Like you're walking into a social conference, and there's a lot of people talking about a lot of different things. Find those people that have the same interests as you, which would hopefully be your buyer, and listen to what they're saying, and organically, add your value where you see fit, and do it naturally, just like you would any other conversation. Have the right motive, and then you know what? It's okay to be direct, but ask for their time, but be creative about it, right? Like I think that salespeople we're so like product focused, right? Like be buyer centric. There's a difference. It's a mindset. It's hey, let me see what their favorite basketball team is, right? Sharing something about their basketball team and then sending them a message on, LinkedIn after you've had a few engagements on Twitter and just saying, hey, you know what, Michigan's having a rough year, man. I'm a Wolverine, right? Or my wife's a Wolverine. Looking for the commonality, and I think that social data is really the diamond in the rough for sales, and even marketing today is like, we have so much good information that we can leverage to personalize anything and not make it about us, and genuinely get into conversations where people will want to carry these conversations on, and eventually we'll get to our product, right? I think that you just can't go in just with the product anymore. That's not what social is designed to do.
Good info.
I got a question. So when you talk about product and talk about buy-in, what are some tips for those of us who have, our company's given us a green light. We've got the motivation. We've got some pretty decent content. Our marketing budget, it's just slim. We don't really have a lot to spend. What are your recommendations and platforms and strategies for those of us who are kind of in that boat?
Well, I mean, it's really going to come down to commitment, right? I mean, you don't have to have the biggest budget. You can go on Canva.com, right? And we haven't talked about this, but you can create some really cool visual content. And you can repurpose your content, right? You've got You know, if you've got a ton of good content, that's great. You know what? Another thing is go do some content sharing, right, with your partners. I'm sure you have partners at, you know, at Faye. Go, you know, say, hey, you know, I see that you've had a really good blog that you posted a year ago. We would love to repurpose this on our blog and push that out through social media, right? It's consistency. I think it's not necessarily all the dollar amount. It's, you know, content and consistency and engagement. And, you know, it doesn't cost any money to make a commitment to using a tool like Topsy.com, right, which is free, to go in and every day look at, you know, what's the newest, hottest content on marketing automation, and make sure that you're posting 10 to 15 times a day, and you're trying to get into, you know, 3 to 5 conversations that you want to move offline a week, right? You know, set some really small goals and be really consistent. And over time, you'll start to see the value there, and then maybe, you know, your budget can grow. But you can do a lot on a little budget. I'm a one-man show. I don't spend a lot of money on social. You know, I've done all this through engagement, conversation, and content, and moving things offline and really, you know, adding value to people and seeing how I can help them, right?
Good stuff. I want to be conscious of time because I want to open it up for Q&A to this audience. But at the tail end of just kind of all of this, and again, speaking about the individual, right, and being involved in social selling, being active on social channels in an effort to eventually, you know, prospect, flip a lead into a contact, and eventually sell something cool. Quick wins, Jack. How do we get them?
Okay, so you're going to have to repeat that one more time. Quick wins on what?
Yeah, quick wins as far as the individual sales pro is concerned. How does a sales pro earn a quick win, you know, using social?
You know, really, what I would say is going in and diving into accounts, right? I mean, I think that a lot of people think that social media is only good for prospecting. That is such a joke, right? Like, prospecting is not, prospecting doesn't move the needle. So as a sales rep, where I see you getting the most wins is going into your opportunities that you have that's in the quarter, look at all of your opportunities, and go and analyze, break down the decision makers on Twitter, right? Who's on social, and make a Twitter list, and really start that heavy engagement process where you become visible and valuable, so that, you know, when it comes down to it, they know who you are, and you know, you're right in front of them, and you can move in and get a conversation with them to kind of move the ball. Because I think a lot of times right now in the fourth quarter, we're all stuck, right? We're stuck at you know, somebody that can't make a decision, or they're kind of like on the edge. We're in a competitive deal. You know, think outside the box. Use social to not be the sales guy that's just asking for something all the time, because that's what we do as sales reps. We're very good. You know, go through your email inbox. I bet all you do every time you send an email to a buyer is ask them for something. Can I get your time? Can I get a, you know, can I get a contract signed? Can I get to your decision makers? You know, start shifting your mindset and going and looking for all the ways that those people are active on social and how you can actually add value, and not try to sell them, and move it along to get to the next conversation where, you know, you're not just the begging salesperson. You're actually the salesperson that they go, oh, hey, you shared my webinar the other day and I got 10 signups, right? Now you've shifted from sales to advocate. That's what you want to try to do, use social to do and get quick wins.
Love it, love it. Our effort today was to provide some diamonds here. I think confidently, overconfidently, we've done that, both from the brand side, the organization side, also for the individual, you know, kind of beginning down the pathway of social selling. Case in point, I'm going to use him as he is a guest speaker of ours here, you know, Jack Kozakowski, right? His Twitter birthday, 26th June 2014, okay? What is that, a year and 6 months if my third grade calendar math serves correctly? The guy's got 23K followers. The importance of content here, right? Because this guy has immersed himself in social. He's immersed himself in, you know, what people are saying, what people are doing on social. He has published ebooks, white papers. We leverage his expertise here at Acton. You know, rightfully so, the Sassanova. the importance of content. Jack, thanks for those tidbits with regard to brand and organization as well as individual. Jesse, any questions, comments from the audience, concerns, anything that the audience wants to add into this? I know we got a great group here, smiling and nodding and kind of fist pumping in the air too.
Yeah, the only really there was a question that somebody asked me privately about a recording of today's session, and yes, of course, we've been recording the session, and we'll definitely get that out to you in the next 24 hours or less, so you can share it with your team. And we've shared some great assets in the chat box as well. And if you missed those, I'll be sure to resend those out to you. Essentially, it's kind of a 5-step ebook that Brandon was showing a little bit earlier. But other than that, guys, there's no other questions that I've got. But if anyone does have a question, you all have my email address and our contact information. Definitely, anything about what you heard today, please reach out to us, strategy or other interests and best practices. And this is what we love to do and we love to talk about, so we're happy to help out.
Well, I will tell you one little tidbit just to go is, use these events like this, a webinar, right? See who's on the webinar. Use these to be social. If you're a marketer and you see that there's other marketers on here, go look and follow them on Twitter when you're done on a webinar. This is how you build your audience, right? This is how you build your network, because at the end of the day, everybody and everything is successful for one reason when it comes to revenue. It's because they have an audience of people that will buy whatever it is they have to offer. So always be connecting, always be adding value, and you know what? Always be having a conversation eventually offline about your product and whether they're going to be a good fit. Because if you don't ask, you'll never get the revenue no matter what.
Love it. Jack, always great presenting with you. Jesse, as usual, hope you have a great Friday Eve, and I'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you, guys.